The transfer window is a theater of ambition, desperation, and power plays, and this summer it has erupted into one of the most unpredictable spectacles football has seen in years, and throwing themselves into negotiations that could define not only the coming season, but the very trajectory of their footballing future. From Tottenham's frantic rebuild after losing its talisman, to Manchester United chasing a midfield savior, Liverpool assembling the next generation of defensive power, and the scandal of Gianluigi Donnarumma's fall from grace in Paris, the stage is set for a seismic shift. At the center of it all are whispers, deals on the edge of collapse, clubs hijacking each other's transfers, and the relentless ticking of the clock as the window draws closer to its end. The drama in North London began with heartbreak. Tottenham Hotspur, reeling from the departure of Son Heung-min to LAFC and a cruelly timed injury to James Maddison, found themselves staring at an attacking line stripped of balance and creativity. For Ange Postecoglou, it was an existential crisis. Their style of football, their identity, was built on dynamism in the final third, and without it, the entire structure threatened to fall apart. Desperation has a way of forcing action, and Tottenham responded by launching not one, but two high-profile negotiations running in parallel. The targets, Manchester City's Savinho and Crystal Palace's dazzling playmaker Eberechiez. The situation with Savinho is delicate. The young wide playmaker, once hailed as City's future, has seen his role diminish with the arrival of Ryan Cherki and the looming shadow of Real Madrid's Rodrigo. His minutes have dried up, his importance shrunk, and in football, few things sting more than the realization that you are no longer central to your manager's plans. Savinho knows it, and so do Spurs. Negotiations have opened, with Manchester City insisting on a buyback clause if they are to let him leave permanently. For Tottenham, the compromise is tempting. It would reduce the initial fee to around 45 million euros while still giving Guardiola's side long-term insurance. Sources close to the club believe the deal could be wrapped up within days, provided though Savinho formally demands a transfer. In the eyes of Thomas Frank, he is not just an addition, but a transformation. A wide playmaker capable of unlocking the best in players like Kudus, shifting the axis of Tottenham's attack and forming part of a forward line that could, astonishingly, become the youngest among the Premier League's top six. At the same time, Tottenham are pushing hard for Eberechiez, a player long admired by Spurs, dating back to his time at QPR. Now 27 and entering the prime of his career, Easy has flourished at Crystal Palace. Last season alone, he scored 14 goals, provided 11 assists, and lifted both the FA Cup and the ideal orchestrator in midfield. Someone to dictate play and carry the creative burden left vacant by Maddison's absence. The problem, however, lies with Palace. His £68 million release clause has expired, leaving Palace in complete control of the negotiations. Arsenal too are circling, having already floated a £65 million bid, though the move is stalled as Palace struggle to find a replacement. Manchester City, ever opportunistic, are also monitoring the situation, yet Tottenham, unlike in years past, are not content to wait in the shadows. The word from inside the club is clear. This is no longer an either-or situation. They want both Savinho and Eze, and they are prepared to fund the revolution by selling key midfielders Yves Bissouma and Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. It is not merely reinforcement, it is a statement of intent, a declaration that Tottenham are ready to rip up their old identity and build a new one. While Spurs scramble for playmakers, the storm clouds gather over Manchester, where United are preparing to launch a record-shattering bid for Brighton's Carlos Baleba. At just 21 years old, Baleba has become one of the most coveted midfielders in Europe. For new manager Ruben Amorim, he is the crown jewel, the player to rebuild United's engine room after the departure of Christian Eriksen and the uncertainty surrounding Casemiro. United's first approach, a player plus cash offer, was flatly rejected. Brighton know their worth. They see Baleba as not just a successor to Moises Caicedo, but a talent of even greater promise, and they are pricing him accordingly. The figure being demanded hovers between 100 and 105 million pounds, a sum that would make him one of the most expensive midfielders. Amorim is insistent. Baleba, with his dynamism, vision, and relentless energy, is the cornerstone of the project. For the player himself, the appeal of Old Trafford is strong. The atmosphere, the ambition, the chance to be the heartbeat of a side desperate to reclaim its dominance, all of it draws him closer. But lurking in the shadows is Pep Guardiola. Manchester City, never slow to identify generational talent, are watching closely, and Guardiola sees Baleba as the long-term successor to Gundogan and Bernardo Silva. The risk is clear. Hesitate. and the deal could be hijacked. Inside United, radical options are being weighed, including the shocking possibility of selling Garnacho to finance the move. For supporters, the mere thought is unthinkable, but such is the desperation to secure Balaba. In this saga, it is not merely a transfer battle, it is a struggle for the very future of United's midfield. While Old Trafford is consumed with dreams of a record-breaking deal, Newcastle United are quietly plotting a move of their own that could strengthen their midfield for years to come. Jacob Ramsey, the Aston Villa Academy graduate, is edging closer to St. James's Park. At 24, Ramsey is no longer just a promising youngster. He is a proven Premier League performer, versatile enough to play centrally or on the wings, and last season's tally of 4 goals, 7 assists, and even a Champions League strike has made him one of England's most underrated assets. Yet, at Villa, his role has diminished. Despite 46 appearances, he started only half the matches, and whispers about his future have grown louder. Aston Villa, under the weight of financial fair play, are willing to listen. For them, his sale represents pure profit on the balance sheet. For Newcastle, it is a golden opportunity. Eddie Howe is a longtime admirer, seeing in Ramsey the perfect complement to Bruno Guimaraes and Sandro Tonali. With Elliot Anderson gone and Joe Willock sidelined by injury, Ramsey could step straight into the side and thrive. Negotiations are moving quickly, and if the deal is closed soon, Ramsey could ironically make his debut against his boyhood club, Aston Villa. The irony is sharp, but football thrives on such twists of fate. Further north, Liverpool are orchestrating a double strike that could reshape their defense for the next decade. The first target is Mark Guehi, the Crystal Palace captain whose contract expires next summer. At £35 million, including bonuses, Guehi is not only attainable but necessary. Jarell Quansah has already departed for Bayer Leverkusen Ibrahima. Konate's future is uncertain, and Joe Gomez is once again battling injuries. Virgil van Dijk, the titan of Liverpool's defense, is approaching the twilight of his career, and a succession plan is urgent. Want both, a twin reinforcement that signals their commitment to building a defense as formidable as their attack. Yet the most scandalous twist of this summer belongs not to Liverpool, not to Tottenham, and not to United, but to Paris Saint-Germain, where Gianluigi Donnarumma has been exiled, discarded, and put up for sale. Luis Enrique's decision was brutal and public. For the UEFA Super Cup clash with Tottenham, Donnarumma was not simply rotated, he was excluded, with Enrique declaring he wanted a different type of goalkeeper. With the arrival of Lucas Chevalier from Lille, Donnarumma has been stripped of his status, reduced to a liability, and pushed toward the exit door. PSG have placed him on the market, fearful of another Mbappe-style saga that could see them lose a superstar for nothing. His contract runs until 2026, but negotiations for an extension have collapsed, and Donnarumma himself has no intention of rotting on the bench ahead of the 2026 World Cup. What followed was shocking. Donnarumma, one of the finest goalkeepers of his generation, is now courted by some of the biggest clubs in Europe. Manchester United, Bayern Munich, and Juventus have all expressed interest, but the frontrunner is a surprising one. Manchester City. Pep Guardiola, famously meticulous in his assessment of goalkeepers, has long admired Donnarumma. For City, the situation hinges on Ederson, who is heavily courted by Galatasaray. If he leaves, City will not only have the funds, but also the space to make their move. PSG's valuation is around 50 million euros, though City are pushing for less, aware that time and circumstance weaken Paris's